Quite surprisingly, we've seen a lot of fear in the markets the last couple of days, which is a little bit hard to fathom considering what's going on. We've got some very bullish news. I want to give you the positive side of the news today because we are down a little bit with Bitcoin, with crypto. There's nothing to worry about. We are going to get into the good things that are happening. This is a positive news day. Here's the news with the fast facts. Housekeeping. 6:01 a.m. We're at block height 799,290. Wednesday, July 19, 2023. Good morning. Market cap, it is up it's up 0.06%. It's at $1.24 trillion. Last 24 hours, a little bit of green, a little bit of red. It's more Bitcoin that people are worried about because it has dropped below that $30,000 level. Short term, ladies and gentlemen, it is all noise, but we are sitting at $29,718, down 0.7% the last 24 hours. You can see in the last 24 hours, we have had a high back over $30,260, a low $29,719. The last couple of days, we have sort of been bouncing around and just touching under 29,000. Found it quite interesting. There's an article not yesterday, the day before, talking about Bitcoin wicking down below 30,000, and it hadn't been on the chart. It's like they'd released that article before the news came out. I want to show you the positive things today. It's a buy the dip opportunity. Yesterday I bought the dip. It's a little bit higher than where it is now, but anytime's a good time, in my opinion, to be able to buy Bitcoin. Not financial advice yet. Anyway, Ethereum doing well, $1,900 on the nose, 0.6% up last 24 hours. Has had a high 1918, a low of 1884. Pretty sideways last 24 hours. Banner bubbles. This is the bubble I was talking about. Obviously not sponsored at all. Pop to win. Oops, maybe next time. That bubble will return very soon. Flex up a massive 34.58%. Sui 8.5% there. They're the biggest winners today. Biggest losers, Algorand, Comp Maker. No real big losers, which is nice to see. All right, so let's get into the positivity, hey? Start the day in a positive way. Deadlines for the US spot Bitcoin ETF approvals come into sight. Absolutely massive. The clock starts ticking this week for the US SEC, or Securities and Exchange Commission, decision on whether to approve or reject 6 applications, including BlackRock's, to list a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund, which is ETFs. Bitwise Bitcoin ETP Trust application hit the Federal Register on Tuesday, while the following will appear in that compendium on Wednesday. Listen to this list. This is the state of crypto 2023. This is absolutely incredible. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, Fidelity's Wise Origin Bitcoin Trust, Wisdom Tree Bitcoin Trust, VanEck Bitcoin Strategy ETF, Invesco Galaxy Bitcoin ETF. Absolutely massive corporations, the largest corporations in the world, getting into the greatest asset in the world. Won't be as good or as bad as we think it'll be, what it will be. While the SEC published documents seeking public consultation last week on Bitcoin's ETFs. Well, I need to look at those documents. It'll be interesting to see what information they're requesting. The clock on the review process formally starts only when filings are published in the register. Initially, this sets a deadline of 45 days, but that can be extended to as long as 240 days. I believe this is all premeditated, all pre-planned. They know exactly when they're going to approve it. I reckon Q1 2024. I think they're going to push it out to then. It's going to align really well with the Bitcoin halving. Maybe they'll approve it within the next 45 days. I just don't see that happening at this stage. I reckon early Q1. That's a prediction. I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't put any faith in that. Anyway, at the moment, Bitcoin does remain under $30,000 following US retail sales numbers. We're going to get into 2 articles that they're talking about in regards to why Bitcoin is below 30,000. What I want to point out here is Bitcoin's rally to a new 13-month high of 31,800 has now more than been nullified. Remember when it was at 31,800 a couple of days ago? and potentially you thought, oh no, I wish I bought more. And then today it's below $30,000 here, and you get freaked out. It's an opportunity. That's the way I see it. I love the red days. The green days at this time in the market make me anxious because we're running out of time to be able to accumulate Bitcoin as cheap as possible, as much as possible. Now we'll get back into this here. Tuesday morning's economic data confirms the US economy remains in growth mode, and traders brace for what's now a near 100% certainty of another Federal Reserve rate hike this week. It's pretty interesting. Positive economic data saying the US economy remains in growth mode has traders freaked out, because if we have a look here, we've got a 97.3% chance that they are going to raise the Fed fund rate at the next FOMC meeting next week. It's going to happen, but people are freaked out that the economy is performing well. It's sort of insanity, isn't it? The fiat monetary system. What little doubt about the result of next week's meeting of the Fed's policy setting FOMC has been essentially fully erased. 97.3% chance of another 25 basis point rate hike. Maybe there's another great buying dip opportunity coming back up. We also do see miners selling as well, but this is a good thing. If they can offload at these lower prices, there's less sell pressure as we get higher, and it allows us to go to the next leg as well. So Bitcoin miners appear to be rebalancing each time prices rise above 30,000. Recent market action has been notable for quick price reversals anytime Bitcoin appears poised for a sustained breakout above the 31,000 level. Just looking at the chart here, you can see they don't have many red days where they're offloading for long. It is going to flick positive again very shortly, a couple of days, couple of weeks, and then we're going to start trending up. Given Bitcoin's 80% gain year to date, it's not unreasonable to expect that Bitcoin miners would be apt to take some profits off the table. Overall trading volume, however, has not been strong enough to indicate their max exodus from the asset. We want to see them just offloading drips and drabs to be able to sustain themselves. When you see a lot flow into the market, that's really bad. One thing I didn't highlight here, but this one here, they currently have 1.83 million coins versus 1.82 on January 1st, which means they are still accumulating net. So it is heading in the right direction. Bitcoin, I can't say suppressed for really long, and this is where we're starting to get into the really positive side of the news today. So it's incredible, isn't it, how positive US news in the job market, risk assets go down because we know what the Fed's going to do, and then when the dollar declines, risk assets go up. It just seems like such a backward system. I guess hashtag Bitcoin opt out. Bitcoin cannot remain indifferent to the dollar index for long, according to an analyst. So US dollar index fade impacts global liquidity conditions, which in turn influences risk assets. Just a really short couple of passages here. Bitcoin's negative correlation with the US dollar index, the DXY, I'm going to bring this chart up in a second, has broken in recent weeks. But it may not last long. So the dollar index, this gauges the greenback's exchange rate against major global fiat currencies, fell 2.26% last week, its worst performance since November. The index dropped below 100, hitting the lowest since April last year. So when the greenback rallies, those with dollar borrowings face high debt servicing costs and scale back exposure to risk assets. The weakening of the dollar has the opposite effect. The Bitcoin DYDX relationship will be hard to shake for long though. It's not just, my apologies on the timer, I believe there was one more. Just trying to get there for sunrise. It is getting earlier and earlier every day, so it's a race to be able to get that light first thing in the morning. Good morning to basically Too Basic. What's your something for Bitcoin? What's your TA? My technical analysis, don't do it. But my take on Bitcoin is it's going to be a lot higher than where it is now. Substantially, I don't throw out price predictions, but when the market starts talking about 100K being bearish, I don't know if the bear case is 100K Bitcoin and that's bearish, you know, even if we go to the old all-time high and that's all we get in this cycle, that's 100% gain or more than 100% gain from where we are now. I don't project out too far. It's going to be better than what it is. It's a hedge. It's the world's hardest, scarcest, greatest form of money. And with inflation, it just holds on to your purchasing power. But I think it's going to be absolutely massive. I think it will be in the six figures, maybe multiple six figures. I try not to be irresponsible and throw any numbers out there, but definitely I have some pretty interesting thoughts on where it can be. But if $100,000 is worst case, I'm pretty happy with that. Hopefully that helps with your question there. Basically too basic. I understand that's probably a pretty basic answer, or maybe you want a little bit more. I just don't feel comfortable throwing out what I think, but it's definitely many multiple times of higher than where we are now. The Bitcoin DYXD, the Bitcoin Dixie relationship will be hard to shake for too long though. It's not just that the US dollar is the denominator and the most quoted pair for the crypto asset, and when the denominator goes down in value, the ratio goes up, all else being equal. It's also that a weaker dollar boosts global liquidity by giving US dollar debt holders around the world more room to breathe, which is great. Popular opinion attribute. Now, this is actually really interesting. This is why I went through the rest of this article. So popular opinion attributes gold's impressive bull run in the 2000s to the launch of the spot-based exchange-traded fund, the ETF. The positive macro environment, including periods of sustained DX weakness, also played a big role. The reason I highlight that there is the narrative around gold and Bitcoin and BlackRock at the moment is BlackRock pumped gold and took it from like a $3 trillion asset to over a $10 trillion asset in the 2000s due to the ETF. And while they are saying that is true, having a weak US dollar also played a part as well. So nobody wants the US dollar to crash, but I definitely want to be prepared for it. So you can see over the last year, this is the strength of the US dollar there, down and to the right. Whereas if we have a look, and this is why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin, let's just go max. It's a better chart. Even if we go year, that's fair. That's apples and apples. Sideways, it did go down there as well. Probably down a lot more than what the US dollar is, to give the US dollar credit, but you can see how quick we've come back up there as well. But when we really zoom out, long term, it is up and to the right. I don't think with that chart there, all time, I don't know what the all time is, 1967, you can just see it's just gone down more and more. You don't want to be holding US dollars, that's for sure. In regards to going long or going with leverage trading, you need to do you. I'm going to do me. I stay away from leverage. There's no need for me. If you're really watching the market, go for it. Have a whole lot of fun. The other day we talked about $155 million being wiped out of leverage, and then in the last 24 hours we've got 116.38 million worth of future bets being liquidated, 85.68 in bullish long positions. So both to the upside and to the downside, they are flicking people out. Before we need to wipe that leverage out before we can get higher and higher more sustainably. So it's better for the markets if you keep the leverage out. In a way, it just makes it more volatile. It's probably one of the draw cards of it. Now, for all my altcoin followers out there, this is pretty cool. And I just want to talk a little bit about tokenization. The Reddit community tokens rocket as rule change speculation boost Moon brick. So Reddit, they changed their TOS. It now explicitly allows for trading Reddit's tokenized community points. Moon's price surged 170% to almost 25% from 9%. This is in the last week as well, so that's nothing to blink at there if you are playing the altcoin game. There are gains to be had. Just don't hold on to these things forever. They're there to make money. A trending post in the r/cryptocredit subreddit said Reddit's terms of service have changed allowing the trading of verified virtual goods like avatars and Reddit's community points. So Reddit, they're allowing the trading of that. But then we can see Wall Street here is talking about tokenization as well. The whole world is becoming tokenized. Institutions bet that crypto's future lies in the real world. Tokenization may finally be ready for prime time. Wall Street is diving in, creating tokens for everything from buildings to gold bars. It is what it allows you to do. Tokenization lets you create liquidity for things that aren't liquid today, where most cryptocurrency is an entirely new breed of asset, from Bitcoin's ETH to Dogecoin. Let's just distinguish Bitcoin as not crypto. Anyway, tokenization takes assets from the real world and puts them on-chain, marrying the perks of the blockchain with assets from the real world. Tokenized stuff can almost be anything. So we're talking about artwork, real estate, luxury items, wine bottles, cars, carbon credits, and financial instruments like T-bills and stocks. These guys, they're trying to get everything to tokens. Then we're going to try to see if we can wipe out all the costs from the underlying system. I guess that's the hope of Web3 and blockchain technology, aside from Bitcoin, the use case. Tokenize everything and then get rid of all the extra costs, the middleman out of there. We'll see if that holds out. People are always greedy. They're going to want to be in the middle of that flow. Tokenization lets you create liquidity for things that aren't liquid today. Even when we're talking about wealth, liquidity, liquid flow, you downstream of it or upstream of it, depending where you are. Now, while FTX and embarrassment of 22 still darken the image of crypto, banks and governments have quietly, almost stealthily dabbled in the tokenization of real-world assets. The Monetary Authority of Singapore is now tokenizing bonds. They're working with the DBS Bank and JP Morgan. We need to look at the players involved. JP Morgan is always saying, lately they've been saying Bitcoin is not going anywhere. At the moment, the BlackRock ETF isn't going to push the price up. And then you can see that they are working within tokenization and stuff. So gold, that's being tokenized. Research from the Bank of America found that the tokenized market for gold alone surpassed 1 billion, as tokenized gold provides exposure to physical gold, 24/7 real-time settlement, no management fees, no storage or insurance costs. I have spoken to a project a couple of times on the channel here, Collective Finance. They've tokenized gold on the Arbitrum network as well. Pretty interesting. I see it as a stable coin. For me, I want to be able to hold the physical thing, whether it is gold, silver, especially Bitcoin. I want to hold the real world asset, the physicality of it, or even, I know Bitcoin's electronic, but I want to be able to have self-custody myself. But having it tokenized does allow it to be more liquid, to have that flow, that high volume frequency there. So it is happening more and more. It's going to continue to happen more and more. I'd like to know what your thoughts are, whether we need it or we just let the incumbents that we have now continue doing what they're doing. Just in regards to Cathie Wood, they are selling millions and millions and millions of dollars of coin. Has sold 26 million of coin. The sale comes the day after ARK sold 50.5 million in the crypto exchanges stock. So they do say they are very positive about Coinbase, and especially in light of the court ruling for Ripple against the SEC. They're simply taking profits and reallocating the capital to some laggards. What I'd like to know, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in their board meetings and find out where she is putting the money, whether it's going into Bitcoin, AI, whatever it is. Cathie Wood is such a visionary going forward, and a lot of people give her a lot of grief. All the positions in the short term may not work out. Long term, this lady is absolutely on point. Talking about tokenization, this is stablecoin. South Korean Shihan Bank completes stablecoin remittance pilot with Asian partners. The bank used the Hedera network to settle payments in South Korean, Thai, and Taiwanese currencies in real time in its second stablecoin pilot project. So there are a lot of things happening in the crypto space. Tokenizing real world assets. Will be interesting to see if some countries go down the form of using stablecoins or implementing their own CBDC. They are quite different as well. Love to know your thoughts. Actually, on Friday, I've got 3 amazing interviews coming up. I'll drop 2 of the names in tomorrow's video, but the first interview will be with Brian D. Mint. I'm not going to go live with this because I want to spend quite a lot of time and go in pretty deep and then spend the time editing, and I'll put it out for you in about a week's time. Brian D. Mint is the author of Bitcoin Evangelism. Absolutely amazing book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it on audio, and then I've read half the book as well on my Kindle. But if you have any questions, if you've read Bitcoin Evangelism, I definitely urge you to do it. Let us know in the comments below. You can reach out to me on Twitter at SeanClark911. And I'm sure to ask him that I definitely need you to get them to me. Like today's Wednesday here in Australia, so I've got about 48 hours before that interview happens. If you can do that for us, if you want any questions from a Bitcoin author that has gone really deep down into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, it's going to be a really amazing high-level conversation. Now is the opportunity to be able to ask one of the great minds in Bitcoin what their thoughts are in whatever particular field it is. Definitely hope you subscribe and that we see you on the next video. Every weekday, Monday through to Friday, we do the news with the fast facts, just giving you an overview of what's going on in the crypto market, just trying to keep a level head and finding out where the narrative is. Short term, it's all noise, but long term, we can find that narrative and see what is actually happening behind the scenes instead of just the day-to-day fluctuations. And then I will come out with an interview or a podcast or a live with some of the biggest, brightest, best minds within Bitcoin. Yesterday morning, Dale Warburton and I went live. That was a fun one, so check that out. We'll see you on the next video. Be blessed. Peace.